get it in 10 years.
So when it's standby, you're saying no payments for the term of the loan. So
Right.
for 10 years, you're not going to get this 5% kicker.
Right.
A lot of people that are buying businesses are they're looking for the seller to carry back a portion of the purchase price, right? They're going to do a seller carry because maybe the borrower or sponsor, whatever you want to call them, they're leveraged and they want to only come in with 5% of their own money on this business acquisition. So can you explain like what you see most common in a seller carry note? Talk about standby, what standby is, and will a 5% borrower injection work if you get a 5% seller carryback, assuming that the business cash flows?
Yeah. So this is where it's really getting into the weeds, and this is becoming a little bit more and more awareness around this. But the SBA requires a 10% injection on your acquisition, your business acquisition. And we will allow the seller to help out with at least or up to half that injection. And they do that in the form of a seller standby note. So they're holding back 5% and they're putting that on full standby for the life of the loan, meaning they're not going to be able to collect any payments until the SBA loan is paid in full. That leaves the buyer with only 5% to come in, and then the SBA finances 90%. Now, well, the SBA lender does. And this is the most aggressive structure you can structure. So not every lender is going to be comfortable with it. I can tell, I just closed 2 in the last, couple of weeks. And one was a salon manager buying their salon. And what I liked about that deal was she's already in the business. She has sweat equity built up because she's already almost running 70% of the business. The owner was just working in the business 15 hours a week. And so that's a good reason for me to say, I'm good with you just coming in with 5%. So we do that actually quite often. And that's it. So those terms are required on that seller note if you're going to count it as part of the 10% equity injection. Now, outside of the equity injection, there's a different type of seller financing, which is more common on all of these business acquisitions, because a lot of the time the buyer wants the seller to have some skin in the game and have, even if the buyer is putting in 10%, they might want a 10% seller note because that's going to really add lubricant to the transaction. It's going to have, with the seller, they're going to want full transparency because now they have some skin in the game. They want this acquisition to succeed. And then the day after closing, you're counting on them to help you. And, if they have some skin in the game, they're definitely going to pick up their phone and help you, because the success on these transactions is all around the seller being able to transition the business to the new buyer. So a lot of buyers want that extra seller note, even if they're putting in 10%. And a lot of lenders actually require it. We don't go as far as requiring it, but I always strongly recommend it on any transaction.
Hi, if you'd like to book a call with me and discuss SBA financing, whether it's a 7A or 504, or you just don't know where to start, maybe it's a startup business, you're buying an existing business, you're buying a franchise, you're building a new office building, you want to expand your existing business, we have multiple solutions. I can walk you through the 7A and the 504 and the SBA loan process. And if you have any other questions on any other types of financing, I'm happy to book a call with you. The link's below. Look forward to seeing you soon. Yeah, I mean, there's such a tremendous opportunity right now to buy businesses because there's so many boomers that are retiring and they need to sell their businesses. And also, I think a lot of them, they understand they're going to have to carry a portion of on a seller note, and they're okay with it. And it's probably works out in their advantage if they carry, because they could probably extend their taxes due on the sale of the business. So there's some financial
tax benefits.
Yeah.
You can earn interest income, so you're technically getting more out of it. And yeah, because you can have terms on that seller note, by the way. You can do a 10-year amortization at 6% or whatever it is. I mean, that's up to negotiations. There's no set SBA requirements around that.
And I don't know if you said this, but so when there is a seller note, it's got to match the term of the SBA loan. So if it's a business acquisition, it's got to be a 10-year term.
Well, not necessarily. If it's part of the equity injection, it's got to be on full standby for the life of the SBA loan. Okay. So that money is going to be parked away for up to 10 years, because that's the term of an SBA business acquisition loan. And, that's a long time, but what that allows sellers to do is to open the door to a lot more buyers, because a lot more buyers can afford 5% down. So it's up to them to do that. A lot of sellers don't want to put away 5% and get it in 10 years.
So when it's standby, you're saying no payments for the term of the loan. So
Right.
for 10 years, you're not going to get this 5% kicker.
Right.
But you could do a hybrid and they could carry, let's just say like, hey, we want to carry back 20% and we'll do, is it okay for them to do 5 on standby and then, 15% they're making? Yeah. So you can be very creative on how you structure it.
Often we do 2 seller notes, because as long as we meet that 10% equity injection requirement and you want to do seller financing beyond that, up to what the cash flow can support and what the buyer or seller agree to. It could be a 5-year term. It could be a 10-year term. You could do a 5-year term with or a 10-year term with a 5-year balloon. Could be on standby for 1 year. Payments could be start right away. I mean, there's no SBA requirements around that. It's really just based on that individual transaction and mainly what the cash flow can support. Because you don't want to do, sometimes I see, okay, we're doing a 10-year loan. Seller wants to be paid back over 2 years. Well, that's probably a little rich, in terms of the debt service coverage, because now you have a 2-year amortization on this portion. It's going to kind of throw things off in terms of cash flow.
Yeah, you really got to be a deal architect to structure this, right? Like that's why you want a good SBA partner, because they're going to help you like figure out, okay, because it takes a little bit of negotiation between the buyer and seller. Potentially, they don't start making payments for 2 or 3 years, which helps the new buyer come in because they're just getting the business, taking it over, learning the processes. So you can be creative and create the note that is meets SBA's requirements.
Stay tuned for the next video.